for Ukraine, because Ukraine needs these weapons to stop the aggression and win the war. And I have to repeat, it's in Europe's self-interest that Ukraine wins the war. It's in Europe's self-interest that Russia does not succeed. Because if Russia were to succeed in Ukraine, then that spells a very, very grim future for the rest of Europe as well. The message, my message to Zelensky is that Latvia stands and will stand firmly with Ukraine, and Europe stands and will stand firmly with Ukraine. Sorry? I believe that Russia's war in Ukraine and Ukraine's response has made us realize how important democracy is, and that you have to stand to defend it. It is not something that is a given. It is something that Ukrainian soldiers and civilians are dying to defend for on a daily basis. And that's something for all of us to think about. The Ukrainians are willing to sacrifice their lives for the values that many of us in Europe take for granted. That's why we have to continue to support them so that they can succeed in their fight against Russian aggression.
Thank you. Thank you.
Russian economy will start to feel all the pain. Yes, we will express our solidarity and the condolences. Really, it's terrible, but you can do nothing against the nature, against the power of nature. Sometimes it's much more important to prevent human from making crimes and making crimes of aggression. But nature is nature. And of course, we are full from the bottom of our heart. I would like to express my condolences to President Erdogan and nation of Turkey, because this is really a huge challenge. And Lithuania, of course, is ready to support, together with other countries, by all means, the country which suffered this terrible earthquake.
You're going to discuss migration today. Are you in favor of using EU funds to build fences on the external borders?
We already built the fence, and Lithuania built the fence, which is quite long. This about 480 kilometers along the border with Belarus. But what we need not only material fences, we need also legal framework helping us to fight against, not only against illegal migration, but also against instrumentalization of illegal migration. And Lithuania suffered and faced this phenomenon in 2021 as Belarusian regime deliberately wanted to destabilize the situation, sending the people, sending the migrants to the border. They tried to cross the border, and it was really a very tough time for Lithuania, but we managed quite well, and now we are ready. We built the fence, we have all the surveillance equipment there, and I think what is important to prevent other countries from trying to do the same in the future, because this is not probably the last attempt to challenge our resilience, and this is important to be prepared in legal sense of the word.
There is a letter from 8 countries, including Lithuania, to protect external borders better. Austria even demanded to blockade the declaration of this summit. If there is not happening enough, do you see now a foundation that enough is happening to protect external borders in this summit?
I think everything should be done in order to be protected. And of course, I would also stress the importance of strategic communication, to talk with the third countries. There are a lot of fake news about the possibilities to cross the border, to go to European Union freely without any restrictions, and people just are irritated. And they are coming, and they see that the reality is totally different from the imaginations. So this is important to have also very bold policy on strategic communication.
What will you say to the Western countries saying that there is no migration crisis right now?
No migration crisis. Come to Lithuania and see. We are Lithuanians. cross all the red lines, because the time is very precious, and we lose the time, and the more we lose the time, the more casualties, the more suffering, the more people deaths we have in Ukraine. And of course, not talking about civil infrastructure and destroyed economy, social systems. We have to be decisive. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to achieve the victory we all want.
So you want to see France, Germany
We did,
move on this?
our example shows, of course, we are not large country. We have limited possibilities, but we started to support Ukraine even before the war broke out. We sent the first stingers 2 weeks before the war started. And we try to show to the rest of the world that it is possible. Even having limited possibilities, we try to do our best in order to help to support Ukraine militarily, politically, economically, financially, by all means. Thank you. In being in the midst of the war, I think this is very important to notice that there is a political consensus in Ukraine to take all the measures which are needed, to pass all the laws which are needed, and they are doing very well. And I hope very much that they will be able to finalize this progress until October of this year. And European Commission's estimation and conclusion will be positive. It will let us, the leaders of the European Council, to take all the decisions regarding the start of accession negotiations.
Today, the first thing I will do is to brief the leaders about the situation of the dialogue between Kosovo and Belgrade. I will inform the last developments, the last contacts. The proposal is on the table. I've been calling the two leaders to come back to Brussels soon, in a couple of weeks, in order to definitely push for this proposal. And I will ask the leaders for a strong support in order to avoid any kind of escalation, and ask them to work seriously on this proposal, which is the only way to try to solve a normalized relationship between Kosovo and Serbia. We have been going from crisis to crisis. Now it's time to de-escalate and to work constructively. Secondly, on Ukraine, I will participate in a debate where, together with President Zeleński, the result will be, sure, more support for Ukraine, providing more arms, more military support, more financial support, in order to make Ukraine able to resist the Russia aggression. And finally, on migration. Fortress Europe is not a solution. Migration is as old as humanity. The problem is not to cut migration, but to manage it. To manage it in a human way, first of all. It's an important part of our external policy. More and more migration is at the core of our relation with a lot of countries around the world, our partners. And we have to work with them and tackle the root causes of migration and to make migration manage. We can ask people to take back the irregular migrants, but we have to offer lines of regular migration, because first, Europe needs migrants, and secondly, it is a way of dealing better with our partners around the world.
Devastation in Tier 3 and Tier 3. Are you going to?
Yes, certainly the Council will take this issue into discussion. Yesterday I went to the Turkish embassy to express my condolences. It's a great tragedy. And the Europeans are fully mobilized, sending all rescue equipments, capacities, medical, to try to support Ukraine and Syria on this situation.
Just what
Migration is important. Will you say that to that think there is a migration crisis right now and that want to build defense outside?
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a migration crisis. Certainly the number of migrants and asylum seekers is increasing on the Eastern Mediterranean, decreasing on the West Mediterranean and the Central Mediterranean. It's not a crisis. It's an increase in the number of people arriving. And this is something that responds to root causes. People move because on their countries there is not a future, there is no peace, there is no stability. So we have to take migration as an important part of our external policy. When we talk with our partners, we have to offer something on migration more than just take your people back. Take your people back, but offer them the possibility of open channels of regular migration. In order, it's the best way of fighting against smuggling and avoiding people risking and losing their lives. Thank you.
I'll come to you afterwards, okay? Yeah.
αλλά και με την παροχή σημαντικής ανθρωπιστικής βοήθειας. been very, very clear that the return policies of the European Union overall have failed. If you look at the total number of people whose asylum applications have been rejected, a very, very small percentage is actually being returned. So we need better European coordination in order to make this happen. At the same time, we've always been advocating for a more effective policy to protect the European Union's external borders. Unless we manage to secure our borders in an effective and fair manner, we will not be able to solve the problem of migration. This is not just a problem of secondary flows, it's a problem of people trying to come into the European Union in a completely uncoordinated manner. And let me point out once more the absolute necessity to eradicate, to eliminate, to destroy the networks of smugglers who are benefiting from the human pain and are currently trafficking people into the European Union, frequently in completely horrible conditions, as is currently happening in the Aegean.
Are you in favor of using EU funds for fences on the external?
Absolutely yes. I think it is. It doesn't seem to me to be very logical that the EU is financing, let's say, technology or drones or surveillance equipment, but refuses to fund the fence itself. We're talking about an integrated approach in terms of the external border management, and of course fences should be included in that financing package. In any case, Greece is building its own fence, and it will do so with or without European money.
And on Zelensky, are you looking forward to meeting him?
Are you going to offer, because you are neighbors?
Look, Greece was the first country to send rescue teams to Turkey. They've saved numerous people from the rubbles. We've sent a second team. We're currently sending 5 planes full of humanitarian assistance. It is our obligation to help our neighbors. And this is a time to leave aside our political differences and to offer a hand of friendship to the Turkish people, the Syrian people, who are suffering a horrible catastrophe. And frankly, when it comes to the relations between our two countries, I cannot imagine of a stronger message than a Greek rescue worker, a Turkish rescue worker working together to save a little Turkish girl. I've said many times that Greek and Turkish people have nothing to separate, that we are friends, and we're proving that we are friends in these times of difficulty.
Wer will anfangen? German, English? French? Okay.
Heute kommt Herr Zeleński. Was erwarten Sie von dem Besuch und was würden Sie sich wünschen, könnte die EU ihm vielleicht noch anbieten, weiter zu unterstützen?
Also das, was feststeht, ist, dass die Ukraine wirklich sehr viele Fortschritte gemacht hat, um näher an uns näher zu kommen. Aber die Kommission ist die uns mitteilt, ob die 7 Bedingungen auch erfüllt sind. Und ich warte da auf grünes Licht. Man soll nicht versprechen, was man auch nicht halten kann. Aber man kann auch nicht sagen, dass nichts passiert ist. Das heißt, die Ukrainer haben schon sehr, sehr viel gemacht. Also das muss man zugeben. Also nicht nur zugeben, aber auch kongratulieren.
Mr. Prime Minister, keine Kampfjets als Rückflug nehme ich an, aber wären Sie dafür, noch mehr jetzt auch Kampfflugzeuge und auch Raketen mit weiter Reichweite zu liefern?
Ich bin als luxemburgischer Regierungschef da schlecht platziert, da ich selber auch keine Militär-Luftarmee habe. Ich glaube, es ist wichtig, dass wir einig sind und dass wir zusammen diese Schritte gehen. Das ist das, was wir auch, ich glaube, im Saal reden sollen.
Und bei der Migration sind Sie?
Ja, also wie gesagt, eine Mauer hat noch nie eine Lösung gehabt. Ich glaube, es gibt irgendeine zwischen Mexiko und Amerika, die ist on sale. Die hat ja auch nichts mitgebracht. Und was will das heißen? Eine Mauer heißt das, wir bauen dann eine Mauer zwischen der Türkei und Bulgarien und dann, wo geht's weiter? Dann ist ja nur dann diesen Teil, dann sagt man, nein, die Mauer muss weitergebaut werden. Und ich hatte gedacht, Europa wäre auch ein Fall einer Mauer, diese Hoffnung gewesen und nicht neue Mauern aufzubauen. Und last but not least, ich hätte lieber das Geld würde anders gebraucht, um auch Entwicklungshilfe und auch andere Programme zu machen. Wenn das alles heißt, jetzt Mauern bauen, dass wir eine Festung brauchen, weil das ist ja dann, eine Mauer ist ja nur ein Stück und dann muss alles gefestigt werden, das wäre ein schlechtes Scheitern. Ich habe schon vor, ich glaube, 2 Jahren gesagt, es wäre eine Schande, wenn eine Mauer in Europa gebaut würde mit den europäischen Sternen drauf. Das wäre nicht das Europa, was ich mir vorstellen kann. Yes, in English, yes. What do you want to hear in English? I think what is impressive is to see what the Ukrainians have done the last months when we see all the efforts to come closer to the European Union. But as you know, we have 7 criteria, 7 conditions, and the Commission is the one who will give us green light or not to say that everything is okay or not. So we shouldn't promise things we cannot keep, but we should also realize all the efforts done by the Ukrainian side. What? Yeah, I just said it's a bit difficult as Luxembourgish Prime Minister to speak about jets. I have a part of a Belgian plane together in the army. That's all I have. So for me, it's a bit difficult to speak about the jets. But what is important is that we get united inside and we see also not one country, another country isolated or get under pressure afterwards because they decided something. I think what is important is to have common answers to a common problem. So the fact is, I just said, the problem is if we think it's walls or fences, because now for the moment what is on the table is Bulgaria and Turkey, that's what I heard, but so this will not enough, so there will be again new fences or again new walls. And I believe that the money could be invested in other parts, and we saw that walls are not giving solutions to problems between the United States and Mexico. You see that it's not the solution. So I believe that to pay with this blue flag with golden stars would be the investment in fences and walls would be wrong. And especially when you start with a place, then you want to grow because then it will be one border, then another border, then another border. And if the conclusion is that we want a fortress in Europe. And as I told also to the German colleagues, I thought Europe was to be able to take away the walls, and that's part of our history on our continent. Okay. Yes, I think it's important to show solidarity also with Syria and Turkey. I think what happened is a nightmare. Over 15,000 people who died.
Agreed last year, before summer, was candidate status for Ukraine and also for Moldova. And on Georgia, we were one step behind, but on Moldova and on Ukraine, that was a clear decision. And now, of course, there is a path which has clear milestones. We know that Ukraine is doing a lot. The efforts are tremendous. At the end, it is always up to the Commission to assess where Ukraine is in terms on its path to membership. And of course, we will await that outcome of that assessment, which will be regularly done by the Commission. But I'm really impressed by what Ukraine is doing, and also the fact that they have this resilience and this clear will to take that next step.
Yes, but you always say that there is no fast track for these 3 countries.
Well, there is a systematic approach in the EU, a clear roadmap with clear milestones, which has been agreed years before, and Ukraine is now on that path. Again, we have consistently said that we rule nothing out as long as there is not an Article 5 situation between NATO and Russia. But also in the past, when we had debates about the Panzerhaubitzers, about the Leo-2s, Leopards 2 tanks, and also on fighter jets, these debates take place in full secrecy, and only when they have been concluded, announcements will be made. Reason is that the allied parties need to discuss this in close circles, and you cannot do this out in the open. And you don't want the enemy to be more informed than necessary.
Why is it important that President Zelensky is here today? Because there is no promise that can be done.
It's crucial that he is here because it is a highly symbolic moment that the President of Ukraine, under full-scale attack of Russia, fighting back in an exemplary way, and we are all constantly in awe of what he, his team, the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian army, the military are doing against a huge country, Russia. We are trying to help him wherever we can. That he is here is highly symbolic and therefore a very important moment. Well, these are the Leo parts 1. On the Leo 2s, of course, there is a different coalition. The Netherlands has said, if necessary, we would like to be part of that coalition. But we do not own Leo 2s. We only lease them. We can buy them and send them to Ukraine. But that's something we are discussing with our partners. Could also be that it's better to use our Leo 2s, for example, in Lithuania or somewhere else. That's still being debated. But on the Leo 1s, of course, there was a huge announcement this week by Denmark, Germany and my country.
On migration, Prime Minister, together with Austria, you demanded stronger measures, especially for the external borders. Do you see that this is enough from this declaration? Do you see a chance at the summit?
I must say the draft conclusions are heading in the right direction. And I've always said that it is an added up sum of many measures you have to take. You cannot have one measure like in 2016, we closed the deal with Turkey and the issue was solved. This is not the case now. Here you need a whole list of smaller steps you have to take to get a grip on migration, to get that back under control. And I must say what's on the table today, and I hope we can get to agreement, I'm very hopeful, and including being able to Commission and Member States jointly to work on border protection. Absolutely, it's on the agenda, and clearly so. I spoke myself with President Erdogan 2 days ago. We are all, of course, extremely sad about what happened, and so many people who lost their lives in the earthquake. In my country, with a big Turkish community, with a big Syrian community, of course, we also feel for our own countrymen who have lost so many people, so many next of kin, friends and family in Turkey, in Syria, and so it has to be on the agenda today, and to coordinate even better wherever we can.
In that way, you had the meeting with the Iraqi Prime Minister, Iraqi Prime Minister. Could you tell me something about that?
Yes, it was a very good meeting. We have very close ties with the Kurdistan region in Iraq. Also had a meeting with the new president of Iraq, and we are working on so many issues: economy, migration, also, for example, the development of the agricultural sector. So yes, this was a very successful meeting amongst friends. We really have very close ties.
Thank you.
The difference is that I think the whole of the European Council, coming out of COVID-19, where the numbers were relatively low, now when we see the numbers have been rising steadily, in my country really high numbers, also in Germany and Belgium and France and Italy and Austria, in Sweden, also in other countries, there is a huge awareness now that we have to make use of the whole list of measures we can take collectively. There's not one way to hit this issue. It will be a whole list of smaller steps we need to take, including how to come to agreements with third countries, including how to use development aid in that relationship and to make that happen, but also in aligning our visa policy with the Western Balkans, including how we deal with return decisions as a EU as a whole. On all these issues, and there is a list I think of 20 measures we are going to decide today, this will be extremely necessary and helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. BBC, what's wrong? Sorry. Sensitive issues to be discussed, the pros and cons. You have to make absolutely sure that you are not getting into an Article 5 direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. So all these things have to be assessed, and as soon as conclusions have been reached, you can bring them to the outside world.
Support maximum. Support maximum.
Des Rates zu sprechen komme, möchte ich den Menschen in der Türkei und in Syrien unsere Anteilnahme ausdrücken. Österreich ist schon mit Soldaten vor Ort, Österreich hat Geldmittel zur Verfügung gestellt, die Europäische Union insgesamt hilft der Türkei und auch in Syrien. Die Menschen sind dort in großer Not. Meine Anteilnahme den Familien und Angehörigen, die jetzt ihre Lieben auch zum Teil schon verloren haben. Der Gipfel heute ist für Österreich ein wichtiger. Das Migrationsthema steht ganz oben auf der Agenda. Österreich hat sich mit Holland dafür eingesetzt, dass es diesen Gipfel überhaupt gibt. Warum ist er wichtig? Wir haben große Probleme. Wir haben das Phänomen der irregulären Migration im vollen Umfang wieder zurück. Und es braucht Maßnahmen. Es braucht Maßnahmen dagegen, die auch tatsächlich wirken. Es muss auch das Ziel des heutigen Gipfels sein, dass wir in die Lage versetzt werden, mit konkreten Beschlüssen den Menschen zu helfen. Die Schlussfolgerungen sollen dafür die Richtlinie sein. Bulgarien zum Beispiel braucht konkrete Hilfe, braucht Geld, damit es den Grenzschutz tatsächlich auch verwirklichen kann. Das ist das Ziel auch von Österreich, sich dafür einzusetzen. Denn eins ist ganz wichtig, wir müssen in der ganzen Europäischen Union die Asylbremse anziehen. Und jetzt ist eben der Moment gekommen, auch hier konkrete Maßnahmen zu setzen.
Mark Rutte hat gemeint, er ist optimistisch, dass da heute was weitergeht auf mehreren Ebenen. Sie haben gesagt, wenn nicht genug weitergeht, würden Sie diese Schlusserklärung möglicherweise auch nicht mittragen. Wie optimistisch sind Sie denn jetzt?
Ich habe jetzt einmal grundsätzlich gar keine Erwartungshaltung. Entscheidend ist, dass wir tatsächlich substanziell sprechen, dass wir ehrlich zueinander sind, dass wir das Problem auch tatsächlich so benennen, wie es sich darstellt und dann daraus die Maßnahmen ableiten. Die Niederlande sind wichtige Verbündete jetzt für Österreich in dieser Frage. Daher teile ich eine Zuversicht, nämlich dass Holland und Österreich sich massiv dafür einsetzen wird, dass tatsächlich auch hier etwas weitergeht in der Frage.
Der Schutz der Außengrenzen war Ihnen besonders wichtig. Da geht es manchmal auch um die Zaunfrage, aber auch um Infrastruktur. Wie ist da die Lage? Wie sehen Sie da momentan die Mehrheiten unter den Kollegen?
Entscheidend ist, dass die Geldmittel zur Verfügung gestellt werden. Ob dann die einen dazu Zaun sagen oder die anderen technische Infrastruktur. Entscheidend ist, dass Bulgarien geholfen wird. Und das ist einerseits in der Frage der Verstärkung des Grenzzauns, aber auch in der Frage des Personals, in der technischen Ausrüstung, in der Überwachung, denn jeder Zaun ist nur so gut, wie er auch überwacht wird. Es wird nicht nur Bulgarien unterstützt werden müssen, es wird genauso Italien, Frankreich, alle EU-Außengrenzländer müssen klar im Fokus der Kommission und unseres Handelns stehen, weil den Außengrenzländern muss signalisiert werden, sie werden nicht allein gelassen, damit wir nicht allein gelassen werden, wenn wir dann die Sekundärmigration erleben.
Was würde das eigentlich für den westlichen Schulterschluss bedeuten, wenn es tatsächlich stimmt, dass Amerika verantwortlich ist für den
Ich habe davon Kenntnis erlangt, dass es hier jetzt Spekulationen gibt. Die USA haben hier ganz klar dazu Stellung bezogen. Für mich gibt es keinen Grund, an den Ausführungen der USA zu zweifeln.
Ganz kurz noch zur Ukraine, da hat gestern Macron gemeint, man werde die Ukraine bis zum Sieg begleiten. Ist denn genug das Wort Frieden jetzt in diesen Erklärungen drinnen? In welche Richtung geht es denn da?
Die österreichische Position ist klar, wir helfen immer humanitär, wir stehen an der Seite der Ukraine und gleichzeitig setzt sich Österreich aber auch immer dafür ein, dass Gesprächskanäle offen bleiben, dass der Krieg auch wieder enden muss genauso auch eine Perspektive sein.
In English, there is the devastation, the earthquake in Turkey, Syria. Today morning, we're going to talking about.
Well, I'm not sure in the council itself, but now
passi in avanti sull'immigrazione?
Guardi, mi pare che si siano già fatti dei passi in avanti, perché la bozza delle conclusioni, se guardiamo al passato sul tema della dimensione esterna, sul tema del fatto che la questione migratoria è una questione europea, sul tema della specificità del confine marittimo, che ovviamente ha bisogno di risposte diverse, è un enorme passo avanti rispetto al passato. Per chi segue queste dinamiche sa che insomma negli ultimi 5 o 6 anni immaginare che ci fosse una tale presa di coscienza su questa materia da parte del Consiglio europeo era difficile, quindi insomma considero un ottimo punto di partenza, frutto di un importante lavoro italiano, non solo politico ma anche della nostra diplomazia, e quindi sono abbastanza ottimista.
Presidente, su dossier economici cosa si attende l'Italia da questo Consiglio principalmente?
Guardi, mi attendo che le legittime aspirazioni delle singole nazioni non vadano a scapito delle altre e che quindi si possa trovare un equilibrio. Da una parte noi abbiamo sicuramente un enorme bisogno di difendere la competitività del nostro sistema, ma non perché gli Stati Uniti hanno fatto l'IRA, no? l'Inflation Reduction Act, ma perché è un momento nel quale bisogna rimettere in discussione le scelte che si sono fatte, per esempio in tema di tornare a controllare le proprie catene di approvvigionamento fondamentali. Abbiamo un problema di competitività, bisogna aiutare il nostro sistema produttivo, bisogna farlo in maniera tale da non creare ovviamente disparità all'interno del mercato unico, e quindi per esempio noi continuiamo a ritenere che immaginare un fondo sovrano per sostenere le imprese, lavorare su una piena flessibilità dei fondi esistenti debbano essere questioni da discutere e da mettere sul piatto nel momento in cui alcuni che hanno uno spazio fiscale superiore ad altri chiedono allentamento delle norme sugli aiuti di Stato.
La missione di Francia, Germania a Washington è stata inopportuna, Presidente?
Guardi, francamente mi è sembrata più inopportuno l'invito a Zeleński di ieri, perché credo che la nostra forza in questa vicenda sia la comunità e la compattezza. E io capisco, voglio dire, le questioni di politica interna, no? Il fatto di privilegiare le proprie opinioni pubbliche interne, ma ci sono momenti nei quali privilegiare la propria opinione pubblica interna rischia di andare a discapito della causa, e questo mi pare che fosse uno di quei casi. Grazie, buon lavoro.
Grazie.
Ça fatigue. J'ai le shot du chou.
Oui.
Die zijn hier al.
Hey, emergency. Hey, doctor.
Hey, doctor.
Maybe a Coke or something?
An extraordinary and an exceptional European summit with, for the first time, the participation in person of Volodymyr Zeleński. We are extremely united more than ever. Time is now. It is very important to increase our efforts to support Ukraine with military means on the one hand, with political support on the other hand. That's why we will have also the occasion to discuss what are the concrete tools we can mobilize in the following weeks and months. We'll also have the occasion during this summit to address the economic consequences for the European Union and to send a massive and a clear message of our common determination to act together in order to support the single market, in order to support the economic development across the European Union. And finally, we'll have also the occasion to discuss migration. This is a challenge for all of us. It requires a European response, a European coordination, and this is why at the level of the leaders today and probably tomorrow, we'll have the occasion to discuss in depth the modalities for our common decisions on that question. Ce sommet européen est un sommet absolument exceptionnel et unique puisque nous allons avoir pour la première fois la participation de Volodymyr Zeleński à peu près un an après les débuts de cette invasion massive de l'Ukraine par la Russie. Notre support est maximum. On va avoir l'occasion de voir comment de manière concrète on peut intensifier les efforts sur le plan militaire mais également sur le plan politique. Nous aurons aussi l'occasion durant ce sommet d'aborder la question des conséquences économiques pour la base industrielle et pour la base économique de l'Union européenne. On va aussi avoir l'occasion d'aborder les questions de migration. C'est un défi commun de l'Union européenne et c'est ensemble qu'on doit mettre en place une stratégie avec des mesures opérationnelles pour relever ce défi ensemble. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour.
Bonjour Monsieur le Président. Bonjour Monsieur le Président. Je suis là-bas, on me dit, mais je vous dis deux mots d'abord. Vous allez bien? Heureux de retrouver ici au Conseil européen pour ce sommet exceptionnel que nous avons décidé. D'abord le président Zeleński qui sera donc à nos côtés, ce qui nous permettra de réaffirmer le soutien qui est le nôtre à l'égard de l'Ukraine et du peuple ukrainien, comme nous l'avons fait hier soir avec Olaf Scholz dans ce dîner de travail et de fraternité avec le président Zeleński. Et pour moi, ce sommet a ensuite deux objectifs très clairs, au-delà de ce soutien réaffirmé de notre coordination. Premièrement, c'est notre réponse économique à la situation présente. Et donc, nous allons adopter, j'espère, et en tout cas les conclusions qui sont proposées vont dans ce sens, des conclusions ambitieuses pour renforcer la compétitivité et l'attractivité de l'Europe sur l'industrie verte et permettre de répondre ainsi aux défis qui est posé à la fois par la guerre, les conséquences de la guerre et la politique de compétitivité américaine. Et deuxièmement, nous aurons une discussion sur l'immigration, là aussi avec l'objectif de pouvoir bâtir un cadre renforcé sur la politique extérieure en particulier, ce qui était l'objectif que nous nous étions assignés pour ce Conseil. Voilà les principaux points que nous discuterons.
Vous êtes prêt à donner combien d'avions?
Nous sommes prêts, comme depuis le début, à aider, à résister et réussir pour que les négociations puissent se tenir dans le cadre le plus utile et le plus positif pour l'Ukraine. Et donc on a eu une discussion très approfondie hier pour définir les besoins et la stratégie. C'est comme ça qu'il faut avancer. Ensemble discuter en profondeur de la manière dont l'Ukraine voulait résister et mener les opérations dans les prochains mois. Et c'est au fond à la lumière de cela qu'il nous faut continuer d'apporter le soutien militaire à l'Ukraine et aux Ukrainiens. Vous le savez, la France l'a fait depuis le début avec les canons César, avec beaucoup d'éléments d'artillerie, avec des blindés et avec récemment les chars légers que nous avons décidé de livrer. Et on voit qu'il y a un besoin capacitaire de court terme, c'est là-dessus qu'il faut se concentrer et que nous nous concentrons. Nous avons également parlé du plan de paix en 10 points qui a été proposé par le président Zeleński et de la suite des négociations telles qu'elles peuvent se tenir, là aussi en regardant les différents éléments. Donc c'était pour moi une conversation stratégique qu'il était nécessaire d'avoir, parce que notre soutien, ça n'est pas simplement en quelque sorte répondre en permanence à des besoins ou parler de micro à micro, c'est aussi comprendre une guerre qui se mène sur le terrain, comprendre les besoins d'une armée et d'un peuple aux côtés duquel nous nous tenons depuis le début. Ça a été l'objet de la discussion d'hier.
Monsieur le Président, merci beaucoup. Olaf Scholz a mis en garde contre la tentation d'une surenchère dans la livraison d'armes quand Volodymyr Zeleński a demandé des avions, alors que l'Europe venait déjà d'accepter de livrer les choses, c'est déjà un grand pas. Est-ce qu'il y a un risque d'escalade? Est-ce que c'est ça le danger finalement avec les avions?
Le danger, c'est d'abord que aujourd'hui, il y a des difficultés sur le terrain. Et donc je pense qu'il faut rester très concentré et uni. Nous sommes aux côtés de l'Ukraine, de son armée, de son peuple, pour qu'il résiste et qu'il puisse mener les opérations utiles. Et ensuite, c'est quand on partage les objectifs de guerre qu'on peut savoir quels sont les équipements adaptés. Parce qu'on voit bien que les prochaines semaines et les prochains mois seront décisifs. Et je pense qu'il faut privilégier, je suis convaincu qu'il faut privilégier les livraisons utiles pour mener ces opérations et résister, plutôt que des engagements qui arriveront très tard ou très loin. Et donc il faut regarder ce qui est livrable à court terme, ce qui correspond aux besoins que les Ukrainiens ont pu détailler. Il ne m'appartient pas ici de les commenter parce que c'est un plan de bataille qui appartient au président de l'Ukraine et qu'il a partagé avec nous de manière stratégique. Et ce n'est pas quelque chose que je vous dirai, mais c'est cela qui va déterminer notre volonté de livrer et d'accompagner.
Mais est-ce qu'il a demandé des avions français pour Volodymyr Zeleński?
Nous n'avons pas eu cette discussion hier soir parce que nous avons privilégié justement ce qui permet de mener ces opérations.
Vous allez en donner?
No, I think what we have to do is to make consistent our policy. We have to help support these countries in order to fight against poverty, inequalities, to deal with climate change, and to fight against terrorism. No doubt about that. We have to help them for education, agriculture, economic opportunities. No doubt about it. So I think the sequence we started with the African Union, European Union Summit remains very valid and has to be delivered. At the same time, we have to better protect our external borders. And sometimes it's very difficult for public opinion and societies to understand that you can help countries, you can provide visa, and at the same time they tell you, I cannot control the people when they arrive, and I don't want to take them back when you have problems with them. So it's a normal political dialogue. I would not put it as something, I would say, incompatible with this approach. And by the way, 1 year ago we discussed about migration as well, positive migration, but as well the migration we want to limit and better control. And I think what is at stake in the European Union, and the debate we will have, is how to better protect our borders and how to better integrate people when they arrive and they want to stay here for two main reasons. One, because they are fighters for freedom and asking for asylum. Second, when they ask to work in our societies and contribute to our prosperity. No, but we have this political dialogue. I would make it now as a broad dialogue. But I do believe that we have to improve our dialogue with the origin country. And I think it's much more efficient than trying to push back in third countries and having this type of approach. But for me, the conclusions we have and what the Commission proposed is extremely useful and very valid. And I think we have to improve our common policy vis-à-vis these countries of origin in order to reduce the inflows, precisely because we have to reduce the pressure in order to better integrate and just welcome these people in much better conditions.
Le président Zélenski vous demande aussi d'exclure les athlètes russes des JO. Est-ce que vous y êtes favorable? Est-ce que vous en avez parlé?
Nous en avons parlé, j'ai expliqué aussi comment les choses se tenaient. Il y a un comité international olympique qui a pris une position. Il est dans son rôle, c'est sa compétence. Et il le fait avec l'esprit sportif et l'esprit de l'olympisme. Les positions qui ont été prises le sont pour ce qui procède du mouvement olympique pour les prochains mois. Ça ne couvre pas la période des Jeux olympiques et des Jeux paralympiques qui se tiendront en France. C'est à l'été que nous aurons une clause de revoyure et que nous l'apprécierons en fonction des circonstances et en fonction de ce qui se tient sur le terrain.
Mais en tant que président du pays hôte, quel est votre
c'est ce que je vous dis, je vous le dirai au moment où il y a une clause de rendez-vous. Je ne vais pas vous répondre aujourd'hui à une question qui ne se pose pas.
Vous ne l'excluez pas aujourd'hui?
Non. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de la lettre qu'a initiée la première ministre danoise sur l'immigration avec 7 autres pays?
Je pense qu'elle fait partie des contributions et qu'il faut qu'il y ait un dialogue aujourd'hui extrêmement large. On sent toutes les tensions, c'est ce que j'ai évoqué avec votre collègue. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, le texte que nous avons est bon. La France a fait avancer le pacte migratoire sous présidence française en permettant un premier pas par cette approche graduelle et on a amélioré des choses lors du sommet en particulier de Tourcoing. Il y a maintenant une deuxième étape qui est de continuer à améliorer la protection de nos frontières extérieures. Je pense qu'il nous faut avancer dans ce sens-là et améliorer le dialogue avec les pays avec les pays d'origine de ces flux migratoires pour voir comment justement améliorer les choses et être plus efficaces. Mais je pense que nous devons être fidèles à notre histoire et nos valeurs, être plus efficaces et mieux accueillir. Donc c'est un ensemble, et c'est cet équilibre qu'il nous faut tenir en européen, parce que c'est en européen qu'on peut obtenir ce résultat. Je n'ai pas de commentaire à faire. Je pense que j'ai souhaité recevoir le président Zélenski avec le chancelier Scholz. Je pense que nous étions dans notre rôle. Je pense que l'Allemagne et la France, comme vous le savez, ont un rôle particulier depuis 8 ans sur cette question, puisque nous avons aussi ensemble justement porté ce processus. Je pense que c'est au président Zélenski aussi d'apprécier les formats qu'il choisit. Il y aura toute la matinée après l'expression au Parlement européen puis au Conseil des formats avec plusieurs pays ici même, par catégorie et par groupe. Et donc je pense que ce qui importe, c'est que nous soyons collectivement efficaces et que nous ayons une stratégie qui permette de retrouver une paix durable, c'est-à-dire une paix qui respecte l'Ukraine dans ses droits et ses frontières, une paix qui soit respectueuse de la justice compte tenu des crimes qui ont été commis et une paix qui permette de bâtir un cadre de sécurité durable pour notre Europe. C'est cet objectif, le seul que nous devons poursuivre.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez promis pour M. Zélenski hier soir?
Mais les choses, vous savez, depuis le premier jour, il sait notre engagement. Et donc je pense que je ne vois pas cette relation comme une espèce de commentaires ou de conférences de presse permanentes où il y a des demandes et puis des réponses. Ça n'aurait aucun sens. C'est la guerre. Et donc nous avons partagé une vision stratégique de celle-ci pour que la Russie ne puisse jamais la gagner. Voilà. Merci.
Zelensky last night, and should we be sending fighter jets to
My message first was full support from day one to the very last minute. My second message was to reiterate the fact that Russia cannot and will not win this war. And my third objective was to have a strategic discussion with him and Chancellor Scholz in order to precisely assess the objectives on the ground, the requirements and the needs from an operational and military point of view, and the strategy to negotiate future peace.
Sending fighter jets to Ukraine?
This question is the one being part of the first discussion I mentioned, and I will not share the Ukrainian plan with you because this is not my job. Merci beaucoup. Mes devoirs.
bijna afdenken. Maar ik weet niet hoe je nog moet maken.
Second round. Change my mind. You change your mind. Talking a little bit, but you're going to the second round. How are you? How are you doing? Sean, so good to see you. You prepared a new film.
She's really, she's complaining too quiet.
It's good to see you. It's good to have memories. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you, as always. Yes, it was in December. In December, I know it was. Yes, December. I thought. It's good that you. How are you?
I'm almost possible, but it's visible.
Yeah, but it's not the way that I can.
On the set with there, a lady. You say that the American community 4 more years. 4 more years. He tried to promote she was the audience after these 8 years. 4 more years. 3 years. Nobody cared for him. Everybody wanted him 4 more years. So, but every time there was the president, the speaker of parliament, and now for the first time in history, many different men speak now for the first time. Absolutely 15 years.
Terrible.
Prime Minister unusual. See how it's more. It is more popular. It's one often many women speakers. The last woman
Pareil.
It's all about the problems. Minister met with you, and now you can be on the great. Yes.
We're back. We're back for a good days of work. Hello, John. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Over here.
Website.
subtle.
No problem.
No,
The
no.
president always. Very smart. My friend.
How are you doing? Good to see you. Fine, yourself? I'm fine. Very good. Very good. It's a daily thing for us. It's a daily thing. It's only when there's rough seat that we don't get this issue. But otherwise, it's a daily thing.
I'm so sorry I couldn't.
You have to get the political army involved as well. So it's mostly done by our armed forces. When it's
Okay.
I knew you had a reason behind that.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It's smart because we don't have very proper structure. The formal structure, and then there are the behind it. They change their minds. It's a very
Imagine, yes, you cannot allow.
That helps.
When is working? That's why I'm still alive, which is something.
When is the election? Buongiorno, come fa? Tutto bene? Better, good to see you. Good to see you as always. When is the election?
Dobbiamo andare. They're calling us.
But I have all Sir? Yeah, yeah.
Allez, allez.
Yeah.
Ciao, ciao.
Bravo Federica.
J'en sais pas, faux.
Ouais, on doit attendre pour rentrer après. C'est réservé pour quelqu'un aussi.
Voilà, je pense que c'est une excellente idée.